Our background is that we were, I was the lead mechanical engineer and Phil was the lead software engineer of the iRobot Roomba. So if you've ever seen a little round robot vacuum cleaner driving around and picking up breadcrumbs, it's one of ours. So we changed gears somewhat, and now we do movies. I've been interested in movies and TV shows for quite a while, and this came out of my own work on my own personal projects. And I got very, very frustrated with how difficult it was to make an image look really good, Hollywood-level imagery. And I think I completed about 1.5 shots. And I said, this is crazy. This is the hardest thing I've ever been around. It would take 1,000 people to make a movie at this rate. And yeah, that's exactly the case. But by the time I'd done that, I understood the mathematics, the underlying mathematics of what the visual effects process was, and realized, wait a second, we can build a system that does huge fractions of this, the parts that I didn't want to do, figuring out where the camera was, what the lens was doing. We can build a machine to do these things. And that way it would let us focus on the artistic aspect of that. Because really no one wants to sit there and write down for every frame what the camera lenses move to. And that was the beginning of it. And since our background is robotics, we're essentially very accustomed to building our own sensors, building our own software systems. Nothing exists in robotics that you can really buy off the shelf. You always have to go invent things. And we found that was very much the case with visual effects.
When we first walked in the room, one of my first thoughts when I saw what was up on the screen was, this must somehow affect the job of a compositor. How has this helped or modified that role on set?
When you can see everything all at once, it changed the workflow dramatically. There are some cases where we can finish inside the camera for relatively simple shots. For many shows where you're going to have a lot of 3D background rendering, or the shot complexity is high enough that we're just not going to finish that in real time. What you still get is that you see everything together on the screen, and immediately you have a live action preview of exactly how that shot's going to work. And it's magic to watch, because as soon as you see an image on the screen, the lighting guys are really quick. And so you can see them go, okay, I think we're going to need a little bit over here, and the lights start moving really, really quickly, and you can just watch the images just knit together because they could see what they were doing. And it's a visual field, and so it makes an enormous impact. And that's really the magical key to getting a really good composite images. You have everything match. There's a huge artistic benefit of the system where instead of wandering in a gigantic field of green, you can start to see what the movie's going to be like.
It seems to me that this would also be a very helpful tool for the actor too. So when they're walking onto a set, I know sometimes there's a great challenge of just walking onto a green screen and not really understanding maybe they saw a rendering or something, but to be able to walk back and look at the monitor is probably very helpful.
They could go see themselves walking through some of these corridor shots and then hold that in their sort of sense memory so that they could recall that when they were walking through, so it didn't feel like such a large field of green. Traditionally, visual effects has all happened in post-production. And what we're finding is that with the need to have the background assets really done at a high level before we go in for a shoot, it pushes a huge fraction of visual effects work into pre-production, which in many cases is kind of a more fun place to be because you're not staring down the barrel of a 2-month deadline to get something done.
Right.
And that really lets it be much more part of the creative process, where there is a way where we think it's just going to blend from pre-visualization, creating the assets ahead of time, bringing those assets onto the stage, the backgrounds, etc., shooting with that, and then seamlessly flowing into post-production. And it just makes a lot of sense.
And trimming tons and tons of time off any production. I can see especially how this would be of great benefit to a TV show like V that would rely so much on visual effects. It can basically have something turned around in a couple of days instead of a full week's time.
They were doing hundreds of shots per episode, and at that rate you need all the help you can get.
Yeah. Well,
really impressive work.
thank you so much. So nice to speak with you today.
Thank you very much.